Recording in progress.
What's good, everybody? I'm your man, Trey Frazier. We got the homie Maestro Styles here in the building. We are the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Shout out to all of our Facebook Live viewers right now. You can tune in on Facebook Live. Just make sure you follow us on the Facebook page. Also, you can follow us on social media on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. And also, you can check us out on our YouTube channel as well. Maestro Styles, man, what's popping? How we feeling today?
What's good, man? Fighting.
Yeah.
Let's talk some sports.
The fight continues. The fight continues and the beat goes on, man. Yeah, let's get right into it, man. I'll be honest, this weekend was busy as hell. So I hadn't had a lot of time to view some of these football games. Especially the Sunday games, but I did kind of check in and out of the Ravens game against Detroit. Checked out a little bit of the first half. Team was struggling. It was a 0-0 ball game, and then we kind of got on the board with a touchdown from Duvernay in the end zone, and we were up like 10-0, and then I kind of cut out after that because I was getting some boxes and stuff and doing some other things. And we got to the house, settled in. It was about a little after 4 o'clock. And I said, you know what? Let me tune into this game and see what was up. And just as I tuned in, apparently we won the football game. And I'm, scrambling on Twitter and social media trying to figure out, okay, how did we celebrating, but, what happened? And it turns out Justin Tucker, who is amazing, kicks this 66-yard field goal to win the game in the end. But the first thing that came to mind was, how in the hell were we down to the Detroit Lions? Like, if we had to kick a field goal to beat the Lions, to take the lead and win the game, I'm just sitting here like, what the hell happened throughout, the rest of the first half into the second half. So pulled some highlights up. Hollywood Brown dropped like 3 balls, 2 of them that should have been touchdowns.
Touchdowns, right.
And most likely that game would have just kind of been out of reach if he catches those passes right there. But the team just right now, they playing a little bit, shaky given all the injuries, and, we had some defenders that had to miss the game because of being placed on a COVID list, I think a couple of days prior to the football game. So we were kind of shorthanded on that front. But, hey, we was able to get up out of there, man. A 2-point win, it's a 2-point win. Even if it's against a sorry team like Detroit, I will take it. And I got a question, man. I got a legit question. Justin Tucker, is he the greatest kicker of all time?
It's funny because I was going to ask you the same thing.
Uh-huh.
So I'll take your opinion as a Ravens fan. I'll take your take first as a Ravens fan. I'm gonna pass it back to you.
You could call me biased or whatever, but I think he's the greatest of all time, bruh. I mean, when you think about kickers in NFL history, there's only, in the Hall of Fame, there's only 2 in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't Morton Anderson in?
I know Morton Anderson. I didn't know that there were 2.
I thought there was another one.
I know Morton Anderson is one of them.
And I might be thinking about Vinatieri, who I guess is not in yet. I don't think he's eligible yet. It hasn't been 5 years yet for him, right?
I would like to think that there's more than 1 kicker in the Hall of Fame, or more than 2. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd like to think that there's more than 2 kickers.
I thought there was 2, but
because who's the guy who used to have the Who's the guy that used to have the record? The old cat that used to have the record, not the cat from Denver, not Prater who did it, who tied the record, but There was an old cat who had that record. I don't remember his
I
name.
believe it was Janikowski with the Raiders because he kicked a 65 yarder some
Okay,
years
that's when
ago.
I'm talking about some cat in the '60s or '70s. I'm talking about an old cat.
Oh, I don't know, bro. I can't go back that far, but
I want to
uh,
say his name, last name was like Dempsey or something. But I don't know.
oh, okay, yeah, that I couldn't tell you that. I know about Janikowski's 65 yarder. That was the record, at the time he did it a few years ago.
Okay, but before then, there was a cat who had a 63 yarder who had the record early.
Okay,
Like I
right,
said, like in the,
right. No, I understand that. I just can't think of I can't think of who that might have been. I just know
I don't
just
know.
off of recent
I like
memory.
to think, like I said, I like to think that there's more than two kickers in the Hall of Fame. I like to think that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some research on that, but not at the moment. But Justin Tucker, I think he's the best of all time, bro.
For certain, the most talented. I don't. Can you? Adam Vinatieri has had a lot of clutch situations.
Yes,
Um,
Super Bowls,
so it's hard.
one Super
Yeah,
Bowls. Yes,
playoff games.
yes.
He's had way more clutch situations than just Justin Tucker. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have the best. I would have to give the nod to Vinatieri right now, just because of circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
most talented, but yeah, it's definitely Justin Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady conversation. Like a lot of like Tom Brady is obviously the better quarterback, but I don't think there's a question of who has the better arm.
Right. So in this case with Tucker, who's got the better leg? Does Vinatieri have the better
Yeah,
leg or
obviously, no.
Tucker?
Obviously,
Yeah.
I would say that Tucker obviously has the better leg, but
Mm-hmm.
Vinatieri is the better kicker.
Yeah. Going back to 2013 when we played against the Lions in Detroit, it was sort of the same similar situation. You know, Tucker hit like 6 field goals in that game, and that sixth one, which was the game winner, was a 63 yarder in that same building 8 years ago. So to see him do this again against the same team, same building, um, a little bit more yardage than the first time, that's special, man. I mean, when you could do it twice in the same building against the same team, to win games. I mean, I get it; it's regular season, but
And it's Detroit,
the,
and it's a dome. I mean, I'm not trying to take nothing
yeah,
away from him.
right,
I'm not trying to take
right.
nothing away.
Sure, you can factor all that in. It's indoors, and he missed a 40 something yarder earlier in the game. I forgot to leave that out. He did miss a kick that went up and was headed toward the middle, but it kind of veered off to the right. So, and to me, it was just like, wait, you indoors? How does that happen? When without no wind, but I don't know. I think the fact that he's
For
done it
certain, the
twice.
most talented kicker we've probably ever seen in the NFL. But like I said, I won't put him at number one. I won't put him at
Accuracy
number one
is
over
on point though
Vinatieri.
too.
Yeah, for sure. I just won't. Like I said, I won't put him over Vinatieri, because of the stakes that
The
Vinatieri has had to kick
moments,
in.
the moments.
Yeah,
I understand that. So for you, Vinatieri is number one for you all time kicker.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. No, I can understand that because I mean, when the moments shine the brightest, yeah, you got to cash in. He's definitely made a lot of those, and I think what's crazy about Vinatieri is that he did it for the Patriots for all those years, even early on when they were terrible before Brady took over, and then he did it for the Colts, for
Yeah,
about 10, 12 years after that. So,
yeah.
and he was on the Colts Super Bowl team, if I'm not mistaken, too, in 2006.
To six,
So he's
maybe.
got rings.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah.
rings,
I
and it's
mean,
not just with the Patriots. So
yeah.
I totally understand that part of it. So I will keep my bias. I will keep Tucker as my greatest kicker in NFL history, and you got Adam Vinatieri as your greatest kicker in NFL history for now. So let's talk about these Steelers because I watched some highlights of that, and I know you joked around when you was at the crib the other day and said, we gonna take a L. We might lose. TJ
I
Watt's
wasn't
not
joking.
there, and
I wasn't joking.
you know, you fooled me, bro.
Yeah, I
if
wasn't
you
joking.
were serious, you fooled me for a sec, bro.
No, I was dead ass serious. I just you know, I mean, you know, in a moment of honesty, I'm never gonna pick against the Steelers in
Of
in a
course,
live
of course.
platform. But if we having a candid conversation off the show behind closed doors, I mean, I gotta keep it real if we talking real shit. And the realness of the situation is that we don't have a pass rush and we
Yeah.
don't have an offensive line. If we don't have a pass rush, then we don't have a very good defense, and if we don't have a very good defense,
Yeah.
then it kind of leans on the offense, and we know the offensive woes. We knew that going in. We knew that this offense was only going to be decent if the offensive line works, meaning if the running game worked, and the pressure was not on Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
He threw almost 60 times again, and that's not who he is anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So Najee Harris, who I still think is going to be a good to great running back.
He's fine.
Someday.
We don't have an offensive line. It's not
Sure.
Najee Harris's fault.
No. I'm not blaming Najee Harris. Again, I think he's going to be good. But so far, the yards haven't been racking up because of, like you said, offensive line.
But he had 100 yards receiving.
Oh, he did.
He also had 100 yards receiving. Yeah.
Oh, he did. Okay. So he made.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
somewhat of an impact there, but
14 catches. 14 catches. I want to say 14. I mean, like he touched the ball.
Okay.
It's just like I said. It's no offensive line. He don't have no help when it comes to running the ball.
That's crazy. So, I mean, how many guys is coming back this week?
I mean, you asking the wrong person. You got to ask Tom than that.
You the Steelers fan right here, man.
I mean, but everything is up in the air. Everything, I guess TJ will be back. I guess Joe Hayden will be back. Yes, it's a whole rack of injury mess right now. We down in a good situation, but even as far as pass rush, maybe we'll be a little bit better, but we're going against Aaron Rodgers this week, so it's like, we're going to have to minimize mistakes. We're going to have to get the running game going if we got a chance to beat Green Bay.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's the kind of game I feel like the Steelers would win though, like just off the break, just without knowing who's gonna play and who's not gonna play, and just kind of the history and the moxie of Pittsburgh. Like, I get the sense that this is the kind of game that they're gonna win. Like, I don't know. I just have this feeling like now on paper y'all losing this game on paper, but there's just something about Pittsburgh when backs are against the wall. These are the kind of games that surprise people. So I'm interested to see, but y'all got what's that? That's a 4:30 game, right, on Sunday?
Yeah,
Yeah, because the Ravens got the Broncos in Denver. Same time. 4:30. So I'm gonna be, in and out of that game. Back and forth between those two games is probably, gonna be my viewing at 4:30. Aside from like the NFC West teams, they play the same time. But
right.
Yeah. So speaking of the Broncos, so they won again. They shut out the Jets. Big freaking deal. Hoop de doo. Everybody
Right.
does that to the Jets. And I kind of alluded to the Broncos just kind of briefly last week because I wasn't believing in them, just kind of based on their opponents and the competition. And you kind of look at what they did to the Jets again, and you say, okay, but you played both New York teams and you played Jacksonville. That's a combined 0-9 record. Like the strength of victory isn't really like there for Denver, but and I haven't watched a lot of Broncos yet this year, but people keep saying, "Oh, they're a good team. They're a good team despite who they played." Um, I I'm not so sure yet. I like Teddy Bridgewater
Yeah,
though.
yeah, but I mean, I'm sure they're a good team. I'm sure they're playing better football than they played last year. But based on what? Based on what?
Yeah, and,
I
and,
mean,
and
let
that's
me.
why I'm like, and that's why I'm like, I'm not ready to anoint the Broncos as
Anything.
this up and coming playoff team. Like I'm not ready to do that just yet. Like talk to
I
me
mean, let's be
when
clear. We're not sure that they're better than the Chargers yet.
yeah,
We're not
but that's
sure.
what I'm about to get to. Let me see them against the Chargers. Let me see them against that whole division, and then we could come back to the table and say, okay, the Broncos got some work to do. Like if
I don't
they
know who. I don't know. I don't know where you're hearing that narrative about the Broncos are a good team, but I won't hold you.
people are
I'm not
talking
holding
about
my
them,
breath.
people are talking about them. They're saying, oh, but they've also alluded to the fact that they've played teams combined 0-9. They've alluded to
Yeah,
that,
there's
but I think that but I and I guess they've watched how the Broncos have played. Again, I haven't watched them, but what they're saying is that well they play they're playing good football. It's not like
yeah.
there's smoke and mirrors or it's not like they're doing this
They're beating
because
the
the other
teams that they're
teams.
supposed to
Of
beat.
course, of
Like
course,
this. This ain't a like a long drawn out
of
conversation. They're
course,
beating the
of
teams that
course.
they're supposed to
But you
beat.
could say the same. But let's say the Giants beat them. Like the narrative would sort of still be the same if the Giants beat them week one. Oh, the Broncos, okay, they 2-1, but like
But when you
I
say
think that
good
narrative would be the
team,
same.
right? So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but the narrative. But let's define what the narrative is. The narrative is that the Denver Broncos are not a playoff team. You could say good team, but what does good team mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if they go 9-8 and miss the playoffs, does that make them a good team? I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, that would be a step up
Yeah.
from what they did.
Right.
That'd be a step up from
Yeah.
what they were last year. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and it's funny. I was just having this conversation this morning. What defines a good team? In my
I
mind,
think it's who you
the
play.
playoff teams. In my mind, at the end of the year, a good team is the teams that make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Everybody else is cool.
Sure. Sure. But I think in addition to that, I think you have to rank their competition. I think you have to look at how a team plays against a particular opponent. If you're playing against a great opponent and you beat that opponent, then I think that has to change the narrative a little bit.
I mean, but that's like
It
for
has to.
me.
It has to change. It has to. Like if they beat the Ravens, on Sunday, then I think the narrative slightly changes on how people feel about the Denver Broncos.
It doesn't for
I
me.
don't think they say they're a playoff team. I don't think they say that, but I think they say, "Huh, okay, they beat teams they're supposed to beat. These are bad teams that haven't won yet, but they beat a good team. They finally beat a team that's got some wins under their belt. I think the
So
narrative slightly
If they
changes.
beat the Ravens, if they beat the Broncos, people are gonna say the Broncos. If they beat the Ravens, I'm sorry, they're gonna say the
Yep,
Broncos are a good team.
I think so. I think the narrative slightly changes. I don't think people are saying that, oh, this is it. They're taking off now. They beat the Ravens. No, 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 no. I don't think it's to that extreme. But I do think that the narrative, changes a little bit. I think other teams that are on their schedule, I think their eyes start to open up a little bit more. But I don't think you can just pencil them in and say, oh, this is a playoff team for certain. Again, for me, I need to see them go up against Vegas. I need them to see them go up against the Chargers and Kansas City. And they have yet to play those three teams. So I need to see them 6 times against all 3 of those teams.
That's a long time.
And I think we're going to find out more about what this Bronco team is,
I won't hold you. I don't
up?
need to see that. I don't need to see that. They're not a good. They're not a playoff team.
Sure, they're not a playoff team right now, but what if they beat Vegas?
If I'm wrong, I'm
what if
wrong.
they beat Kansas? What if they beat Kansas City?
Again, to my litmus test, and like I said, it was just a conversation I had this morning.
Yep.
They don't make the playoffs. They're not a good team. They're an average team. I guess you know what I'm saying. They're a step below a good team. They're not a good team. They don't make the playoffs. Is 14 teams going to the playoffs this year?
Sure,
Is that the number? Yeah.
Sure. It's 14 teams. 14 teams.
So they're not. Yeah. If they don't make that 14, in my mind, they're not a good team. And I don't think they're going to make that 14.
I don't think
if
so.
I'm wrong, then
I
I'll
don't
be
think
wrong.
so. I don't think they're going to make the 14 either. Again, I mean, based off of what we know about them so far, I don't think they're going to make it. Again, I think when I start to see them against better competition, and if they start to pull some more wins, and I don't know what their schedule is. I just know they got to face the division rivals 6 times this year. That's really all I know about their schedule at this point. So, again, if they play well against those teams, if they start racking some wins against those teams, then I think the narrative about the Broncos and their 3-0 start, I think it slightly changes. I really do.
Sure, but again, if that happens, cool. But for me, I'm not gonna go there because I don't believe they're gonna. I just don't believe them. It don't. That's cool. Like, oh, I guess for media talking heads to have something to talk about, it's cool to talk about that team because they, if they're undefeated or if they have a winning record going in, they have. I mean, obviously they're undefeated going into Baltimore,
Going into the Ravens game. Yep.
Sure, they're undefeated, but we don't believe them. I mean, if you want to talk about the other undefeated teams, we don't believe some of them. We certainly don't believe Carolina Panthers. We don't believe them.
Yeah, we don't believe in the Panthers.
They're playing good football, and all those things could
we don't believe
be
in
true.
It. Now, I will say this about Carolina. I do think that the win over the Saints is a quality win in 100%. That 3-0 start. I do think that. I still don't think they're a playoff. I still don't think they're a playoff team. I still have to see them against Tampa Bay, Saints again. I still have to see them against those teams that we know are legit playoff teams.
Yeah, so, I won't hold you. I don't need to see it. I don't believe they're a good team. I don't need to see that. I already have what I believe about those teams.
No, sure. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the narrative about a team has to change throughout the season. Like it has to. It can't just be.
No, it don't.
Yeah, it do. It does. It definitely does. Like
just because you beat a team that you're not supposed to beat.
So if the Broncos make the playoffs, you still gonna say they're not a good team?
No, but that's the only time that it has to change. We're talking about right now, week 4, that if that narratives have to change if they beat good teams, and I'm saying no, it doesn't.
I disagree.
It don't because week 4 in the regular season is important, but it don't mean nothing.
No, but I'm not strictly talking about week 4 in terms of them being a playoff team. We know right now they're not a playoff team, But as this season progresses, and let's say they're eight, like let's say they're 9-4. Like if they get the 9-4, so what? That's week 13, week 14, or something like that. So around that time of the season, which is about the 3/4 mark of the season, at that point you gotta say, okay, they've established themselves. They've put themselves in position as a legit playoff team.
or a playoff contender.
Okay, I'll go there. Playoff contender.
I don't have to change. I don't have to change my
Especially
narrative.
especially how they play. Like you can't just look at the record. You got to look at how they're playing also.
Sure,
Like if
sure,
if
but
the record's good and they've played well enough to get that, like you see how they play the style, then okay. I mean, some eyes got to open. Like like for me, if that team is 9-4, week 13, week 14, my narrative about that team has to change.
yeah, not for me. Not for me, because then who they playing in them last
So no progress, huh?
until are in the playoffs. Until we know they're going into the playoffs, their narrative doesn't have to change. My narrative doesn't have to change.
So there's no progress. Teams can't progress.
That's not what I said. I said my narrative
No,
doesn't have to
I'm
change.
asking. No, I'm asking. I'm just asking a question.
Sure, of course, progress happens, but that don't mean they're going to become a good team this year. Of course, I mean, obviously, I mean, come on now, that's not even like a real question. Of course, I mean, if you look at what the Broncos did from last year to this year, this is clearly progress. I mean, we're not talking about lack of progress. We're talking about these teams good teams or not, or does the narrative have to change? I mean, we're
Mhm.
the only reason we're talking about the Panthers and the Broncos is because they're undefeated right
I was
now.
gonna
But
say.
in
I think
my
their progress is because of the win loss record. They're undefeated.
Sure. So, but that doesn't mean that they're a good team right now just because they're 3 and
Sure,
0.
sure,
That's all my point. That's all my point is.
sure.
So, if you're asking me,
Hmm.
I hear your point. I understand your point.
Hmm.
If you're asking me if you're asking me how do I feel, I don't believe them. I'm not going to call them a good team, and I'm not going to open my eyes to them until it's like, oh shit, they might be about to make the playoffs. And up until then,
Oh, but
they're
that
just a
sounded,
team having good.
but that sounded more like, oh, I'm gonna open my eyes when they clinch a playoff spot. That's what that sounded like coming from you earlier in the conversation.
No, my statement was they are not a good team if they don't make the playoffs.
Sure, but
That's all my
that,
that.
but we know that.
Okay,
We know that.
all this other shit that's going on. Week 8, week 10, week 13. It's like okay, maybe they're about to be a good team. I'll watch for that, but
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
changing my narrative of that team until they make the playoffs.
Okay. For me, I can't just call a team a bad team. When they click, like if they're 10 and let's say they're 10-4. If they're 10-4, I can't label them the same thing I labeled them. This week. You
Or it could
know,
be a different label, or it could be a different label. This team is having a good
that's
season,
my
not
but
they're a
that
good
that's my
team.
but that's my point. That's
No,
my point.
but you said good team. You didn't say
I
good.
don't.
You didn't
But right
say good
now, I don't
season. You
believe
said
them.
good team.
Huh?
Right,
But I'm
but
not saying
you
that they're a good team right now. I don't believe that they're a good team right now because of who they've played up to this point. They've played 3-0-3 football teams. And my whole thing is that okay, I see you, but I don't believe you right now
I don't even see you.
because of the competition.
I hear your point. I don't even see him. I don't.
So you don't
I hear you though.
you don't see them.
I don't even see him. I
All
hear
right,
you. I hear you, but
all right.
I don't even see him.
No, and I'm saying I see you, but I don't believe you. I
Um,
guess we sort of saying the same thing, but we're not saying the same
no,
thing.
we're not saying. I don't. Yeah, I don't think we're saying the same thing at all. I
I
think
don't.
you're saying. I think I hear you saying that the Bronx. You should watch out for the Broncos right now in week 4.
No. I'm saying you're 3-0. Okay, that's cool. Good for you, Denver Broncos. You're 3-0. But your competition makes me think that this is why you're 3-0. I don't believe you. I don't believe you right now. And I just need to see you play against better teams. And once I see you play against better teams, if you lose those games, then my thoughts are going to be the same as they are this week. Like if they lose to the Chiefs, whatever week they play them mid-season, if they lose to the Chiefs or if they lose to Vegas, my narrative is still going to be the same about them then as they are going to be right now.
So what if they beat these teams and don't make the playoffs? Are they a good team?
If they beat these teams but they don't make the playoffs,
Yeah.
I think they're good. Well, I think two things. They're good. They're a good football team. They've improved since last year, but they missed out on the playoffs. So that means what? That to me that tells me that they've gotten to a point where they're in playoff contention and have to maybe win a couple of games here and there to clinch a spot, and they somehow don't win those final two games and they lose a tiebreaker somehow and they end up missing the playoffs. So yeah, is that possible? Yes, that is highly possible. Will I call them not a good team because of that? Because of those final 2 weeks or whatever? I won't completely call them a bad football team, but I will acknowledge that there was improvement throughout the regular season up to that point.
So they had a good season.
So they would have had a good season, absolutely.
But they're not okay. So my point is that they're not a good team.
You're but you're taking it. I know what you're doing. You're saying if you're in the top 14, you're a good team. If you're in the bottom 18, you're not a good team. That I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, that's 100% what I'm saying. But you're not a good team. But you had a good season. If you didn't make the playoffs, so if you were 9-8 or 10-7 or whatever, and you don't make the playoffs, but you have a good record, you had a good season.
Okay. So
and then
Dolphins example. Dolphins last season.
They had a good season. They're not a good team.
They're not a good team.
They had a good season last year,
but they're not a good team.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, so your definition of a good team is they got to be in the playoffs, regardless of record.
That's exactly how my statement started. They are a good team.
They're in a tough conference. I mean, you had what?
Somebody got to win it. Somebody got to win it.
Sure, but let's be honest. The AFC was loaded last year. God forbid.
But some teams did make it.
Sure, and there
were other teams besides.
Sure.
So for instance, go
ahead.
What just last year?
Mm-hmm.
What was the difference between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins? Obviously, the Miami Dolphins were playing better football by the end of the year.
Yep.
But they didn't make the playoffs. They had a good season.
Sure.
Pittsburgh, because of what they did.
Was it because they played in a loaded conference, or was it because of something they did, or that they didn't do?
They played the games, and they won.
No. Was it because they were in a loaded conference, or was it because they didn't?
Who are you saying is in a loaded conference?
Huh?
Who are you saying is in a loaded conference?
I'm talking about the AFC last
season. The AFC as a whole. Okay, so
listen. Let's remember too. They added one more playoff team. So
and the Dolphins still missed out.
Sure. But my point is, had it been still 6 teams in the playoffs, you would have had not one, you would have had 2 double-digit win teams not make the playoffs. That's unheard of. That is unheard of.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I feel like
you have to acknowledge that. That never happens.
Do we agree that sports is a
Who was the
Do
seventh
we?
seed?
I don't even
It
know.
was
I don't even.
Indy was a 7th seed. They had 11 wins. They had 11 wins. So if they didn't add that 7th final playoff spot, they would have missed the playoffs with 11 wins.
Do we agree that sports is a performance-based game, a performance-based job?
Of course it is.
Okay,
Of
so
course it
it's
is.
so it's like as much. I get it. We want to not shit on teams that have winning records, but if it's a performance-based contest and everybody play the same amount of games and it's your job to win or lose those games, and you don't, and you lose enough games, no matter how many how many games you lost by, if you don't make it, you don't make it. You're not in.
So the Washington
So
football team, they were below 500 in a crappy division. We acknowledge that, right? We acknowledge that the
we,
Washington football team was in a crappy division, right?
life ain't fair, bruh.
No, I'm
I
not
hear you.
saying it's fair or not. I'm just saying there's
So we
context
gonna
to
act like
this.
the red.
There's context to this, bruh. Like
Yeah, there can be context. There can be context to it, but the facts still
there is
remain.
context to it. There will always be
I'm
context
not disagreeing
to
with it. But the fact still remains, regardless of how much context there is to the conversation, the fact still remains that based on the rules that are in the NFL, that team overperformed from the team that had the better record that didn't make the playoffs. So until they change that format, it is what it is. The Redskins were a good football team last year. The football team was a good football team last year.
Hell, come on, don't do that. There was a good
It
football
just is
team
what it
last
is.
year. There was a good football team last year.
They was a good
At
football
seven
team
at
last
7-9.
At 7-9, just like the Seahawks were when they did it, and just like
Come on.
6 seeds they go to the Super
come on,
Bowl.
fam.
If they're in the dance, they're in the dance.
Come on, fam. But okay, we talking about a format. I understand the format concept to this conversation, but
The football team won the games that they had to win in order to get in there. Because otherwise, it would have been the Giants or the Cowboys or the Eagles.
But they were in a crappy division. Let's be honest about this. Like,
I'm not denying that. I'm saying that this is a performance-based sport.
sure,
Does it
but
have context?
you're saying if you're one of the 14 teams, you're a good football team. If you're
Yes.
if you're one of the 18 teams left out, you're not a good football team, and I just don't believe that that's true. That's not 100% the case all the time.
But what I also but the part that you're leaving out is that those teams who had winning records had good seasons.
Right, and the teams that didn't have winning records, like the football team last year, and a few other teams, the Panthers, I think, had a year like that a few years
But certainly
ago.
a good enough football team to make the playoffs, regardless of the format. I'm not denying the context in it. I'm not denying the minutia in it. I'm just saying
Sure.
that that's what it is. And every single year in the history books is going to say that the 7-9 Washington football team was a playoff team, just like the 7-9 Seattle Seahawks was a good
They were a playoff team.
football team
I believe
that won a game.
I get that.
So what's the
They
so,
were a
so
playoff
You can't take
team.
it away.
They
you
were
can't
a
take it away
playoff
from
team.
you can't.
They weren't a good
if you're
football
taking
team.
it,
They were a
they
playoff
beat
team. They were a playoff
they
team.
beat
They weren't a
they
good
also
football
beat
team.
a playoff, but they also beat a playoff team in that year. So how they not?
Okay,
who's to say?
Okay, so the football team, they didn't win a playoff game.
They were good enough to play.
They're not they weren't a good football team. And that's my argument to which when you say if you're in the
I disagree
playoffs,
with
you're a
you
good
because
football team. If you're not
disagree
in the
with you.
playoffs, you're not a good football team. Like I
Otherwise-
don't agree with that concept because there's teams in there with great records, and then there's sometimes you get that 8-8, that 7-9 football team that gets in every now and then. A 7-9 team in the playoffs, they're a playoff team because of the format, but truly deep down inside, they're not a good football team. They're not. Put the football team put the football team in the AFC West last year. They're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I hear you.
So,
I hear you.
We spent too much time on this, but other things that we saw this past week. What you got?
other things we saw. Let me pull up my little thing.
Did you pull
I
out your
mean,
Palm
look, man.
Pilot?
I don't pretend like I was impressed this week. I mean, you talked about my team being trash this week. The Chargers. I mean,
I was gonna say that was. I
look,
thought that
I'm gonna give them
was
the win.
pretty good. That was impressive.
They got the win. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, they got the win. So there's nothing.
I should say a surprise. I
about
should say
that.
because I didn't have the Chargers beating Kansas City.
I don't think anybody else did. I said outside of maybe Chargers fans. I mean, you got to respect the fact that they
Yep,
won the game.
which is why it's a surprise. Yep.
Justin Herbert is an official quarterback.
Yep. We
I
knew
still
that.
stand by. I don't believe this team yet, but the quarterback is solidified. And kudos to him for beating a
Yep.
team that they for beating. Kudos to the team for beating a team that they weren't supposed to beat according to odds.
Yeah.
Shouts out to them.
I classified that team as a sleeper, going into the season. The win over Kansas City doesn't change how I feel about the Chargers right now. I still think they are a sleeper football team in this league. But
Define sleeper. When you say sleeper, meaning they're going to make the playoffs.
meaning a dark horse. That's what I meant to say. They a bubble team. Like they gonna be in contention. Week 17, week
Okay.
18. They gonna be right there. They gonna have something
You
to play
believe?
for.
Okay.
They gonna have something to play
Okay.
for.
I just wanted to be clear on what you meant when you said what you said. I'm with you. I think they'll be in the contention for the playoffs.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that.
Because there's definitely gonna be some teams that's gonna be out of it by week 14, just kind of playing the season out, just getting it over with. I don't think the Chargers are gonna be one of those teams. I think they're gonna have meaningful games down the stretch.
Yeah. I let's say I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't want to make it a big long discussion about it. Chicago Bears need to fire Matt Nagy. I think that's just what it is.
Um, yeah.
Like now, like now.
Yeah. I don't. I'm gonna try not to make this long and drawn out, right? Because I've always had my suspicions about these kinds of like old school, football teams that have been around for almost 80 years, and it just seems like that, like there's just this like one, constant, right? And for a long time, the Bears have never had that franchise quarterback, like that dude that that you could count on for about a good 10, 12 years. Like they never had that. I mean, the closest guy they had was Jay Cutler, and we know how we feel about Jay Cutler.
I
So
think the closest they had was Jim McMahon. So there we go.
because of the Super Bowl, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. But in terms of, and I don't know how long McMahon was there in Chicago, but I know how long Jay Cutler was there. And in moments, I thought it was too long that he was there. But it just seemed like this organization doesn't know how to handle the quarterback situation. And maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just throwing little, narratives out there. But, I mean, you look over the history of this franchise for all these years, they've been known for their defense. Like, their best players historically in the Hall of Fame have been on defense. Aside from Walter Payton, Gale Sayers, and those guys, but it's been mostly players on defense that that are great all-time greats. So, but this whole Justin Fields thing, man, and I think he's gonna be great one day. The game plan, and you know what? Maybe it's not so much the game plan. For me, the offensive line is just not good. They're really just not good. So he was sacked 9 times, I think, on Sunday. by
Yeah.
by Cleveland's front, and that's a tough front, by the way. So I mean, no surprise in terms of how they play, but to get 9 sacks on the quarterback, you having a great day. There's not a lot of days where a defense gets 9 sacks in a game, so credit Cleveland for that, but it's a product of the offensive line. Offensive line. It's a product of Matt Nagy not calling plays for your quarterback, not pertaining the offense that fits Justin Fields and his skill set. It's a lot of things, and
Man, that need to be fired, bro.
if you ask me, I can't disagree. I can't disagree that the coach got to go.
Like all that. Matt Nagy need to go, bro. Matt Nagy needs to go. It ain't, like I would love to play this. Yes, you're right. It's not that you're wrong, and they have deficiencies on the offensive line and all. It's not that you're wrong, but he need to go, man. He had no intent on calling a game where Justin Fields could be successful, and y'all drafted him.
Yeah, and y'all don't know what to do with him, or y'all don't know how to,
I mean, but it starts,
together.
but it goes beyond, that. It goes beyond that. You pick up Andy Dalton, and he starts like. What did you draft dude for? You to sit behind Andy Dalton, bum ass? Like what? Learn what? Like learn what? Andy Dalton can shine Justin Fields' shoes now.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
He can get that same experience from Andy Dalton with Andy Dalton riding the bench.
Yeah.
So it's like even that narrative in the beginning, it's like and I hate to be. I know.
But it's not a bad narrative, though. It's not a bad narrative. You just don't like it, and I can respect that. But it's not a bad narrative.
Look, I get. I hate to what would I say source ESPN. I know a lot of our listeners hate those networks and those things, but I think it was Dan Orlovsky, whoever it was.
It was Orlovsky
who said that that the dude had 100. He had time to put this game plan together for the quarterback of your future, and you have no plan. It's clear in how this game went that there was no plan for this dude to succeed.
Yeah, it's bad.
And
he only threw 20 times, and I think that's the amazing thing about it.
He should throw 20 times. That's a good number for him to throw as a rookie, but
you can't. But that's bad when your quarterback is on his back 9 times, and you only made him throw 20 times. Like that's terrible. Like you should be in a football game in terms of the score if your quarterback is just throwing the ball 20 times.
It's just more to the point that Matt Nagy has not put this dude in a situation where he is going to be successful. And for me, that speaks to, you ain't really concerned with this team being successful. And I know that, maybe that's going a little too far, but in the end game, it's really not going too far, bro. You drafted your quarterback.
I think he know he out.
2, 3.
I think he know he out. I think something in his head says, "Yo, I can't do nothing with this guy." So I'm just coaching out the season at this point. And whoever
fire him, fire him then. Then fire him.
That's on ownership.
You feel that way,
that's on ownership.
If you feel that way, I would love to know what ownership feels like. I think he was just ill prepared. He really thought that Andy Dalton was going to be the starting quarterback for the year, and that's just not smart.
I agree. You look at other examples. Lamar Jackson comes in, they switch the entire offense for him. Right? Other quarterbacks you look at, they switched Kyler Murray in Arizona. They went from Josh Rosen 1 year. They said, nah, this can't work. Draft Kyler Murray. Let's pertain, the offense to his skills. They did that. The Bears, they haven't done that.
And look, I get it's been 3 weeks of regular season. But I'm sorry, it's asinine to me for y'all to think that going all through training camp that Andy Dalton was going to be the quarterback to get y'all to the playoffs. If that's what your goal was,
I'm not upset.
in the
I'm not
offseason.
necessarily upset that Andy. Not well. Let me rephrase that. I'm because for me personally, I would have liked to have seen Justin Fields start week one, but I'm not like entirely upset that Andy Dalton got this start because it's not like the Bears are the sole team that's been doing this. Like there's been other great quarterbacks that have had to sit for a year, sometimes a couple of years, and have come in and have turned out to be great quarterbacks. So I'm not necessarily, or I should say, I'm not upset at the concept of drafting the rookie and then making them sit for a year or two. I'm not upset at the concept of this.
Except
What I
that
am upset at is that your team is ill prepared week in and week out and not having a plan B. Because that's really what this is in Chicago is that
nah,
your
but the
plan
thing
A was
about
Andy Dalton and he got hurt, and so now you got to put Fields in, and now you don't have a legit plan B as to how you're going to win football games moving forward. For as how long Andy Dalton, because he said it, Nagy said it. Once Dalton gets healthy, he's going back in there. He said it. Now he might change his mind. I hope he does, but that's what the dude said, that he's going back in there once he's healthy,
going back to
and he should be fired just off of that. Just off of that, he should get
so
fired.
I don't even understand. I don't even understand. I feel like you're defending the concept and the difference between
The concept of what though?
the concept of let the young boys sit behind the older quarterback, and
That's not
for
a
me
bad
there's
concept.
no defense.
It's not a
It
bad
is.
concept.
It is in this situation when you didn't bring in an established good quarterback that's been in your franchise and let him. This ain't Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. This ain't
Sure.
even Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. This
Sure.
is you bought in a backup from the Dallas Cowboys who was washed up in Cincinnati. He came into Dallas to be a backup. Mm-hmm. Let's be clear on what happened.
Sure.
So
sure.
you bought in you so. At the end of the season, you brought in a backup who was at the twilight of his career and made him a made him a starter over a rookie that we know. We know that the upside this year was with Justin Fields. Period.
Yeah.
It's not like this not Eli Manning and Kurt Warner where
I understand
Kurt Warner
that.
was a solidified quarterback in this league or even with that team.
I was
where
gonna
it's
say,
like,
I think that situation, the Warner and Manning situation, I think that's comparable to this Dalton and Fields situation in a sense that Warner was not in the Giants system for all these years. Yes, he won a Super Bowl, greatest show on turf, and all that stuff.
Kurt Warner was
difference.
still nice when he
Sure.
got picked up by the New York Giants.
Sure.
That's not comparable.
It depends on what
Kurt
you
Warner
compare.
was still nice.
It depends on what you compare.
Kurt Warner was still one of the better quarterbacks in the league when he got picked up by the Giants. Andy Dalton was not.
Sure. And
Kurt
Warner was also injury prone at that time, if I remember correctly.
The upside is still arguable when you bring in Kurt Warner to Eli Manning. The upside is not arguable for the team when you talk about Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. No way.
Okay.
Not going for that.
Well, look again. I mean, you mentioned not Alex Smith, but that's a perfect situation in Kansas City where Mahomes came in. But Alex Smith had been with the Chiefs some years prior to that. Like that's a good situation. You mentioned the Ravens situation with Flacco and Jackson, and I forget the other situation. Jordan Love and Rodgers.
And Jordan Love.
Right.
You sit down for them. Right. You don't sit down for Andy Dalton, bro. Nope.
Well,
you don't sit down for Andy Dalton, bro.
But I
think that Matt Nagy did that is a mistake, and he should be fired.
Fair,
because it's not working.
Fair. I think because Andy Dalton has not been with that. He just got there. Like he just got into that situation.
And he was trash last year. He's not
think
gonna come to Chicago and be good.
He was a backup quarterback. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he wasn't good.
Not that he was just a backup quarterback. He was trash last year.
Sure. And Kurt Warner years ago in that Giant situation was injury prone. That's why the Rams got rid of him. That's why the Rams got rid of him. That's why the Rams got rid of him.
He was not trash. He was not trash.
So why the Rams get rid of him? Why the Rams get rid of him?
Why the Rams get rid of him? Because like
of
you
Bolger?
said, he was
because
injured.
of Mark Bolger?
And Mark Bolger came in and was nice. And Mark Bolger was nice. Yeah, exactly.
For what?
Yeah,
for what, a
Mark
year?
Bolger was nice. Hey, he was nice. He was nice when he came. When he went to St. Louis, he was nice.
All right.
He went, and Kurt Warner went to New York, and for the time he played, he was good until he got injured.
He was injured.
All you do is, we are clear that teams pick up players all the time.
Of course.
Through injury.
Yeah.
If the player still has value, if you can keep him healthy. If you can keep him healthy, Kurt Warner was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We know that.
Right. But
this ain't comparable.
No,
you take that risk. You take that risk with somebody as nice as Kurt Warner. You take that risk every single time.
Understood. But when you mentioned the organization, that's why I made the comparison the way I did it. Because if you're saying, oh, these guys have been with these teams years before they drafted this kid, that's sort of that was the reason for what I said and why I compared the two. Kurt Warner was not in that Giants organization when they drafted
I also said
Eli.
established.
So
I also said established, though. I also said established. I also said established. I didn't say just somebody who.
What's established though?
Kurt Warner was nice. He's established as one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Okay, because if you're saying
healthy.
Okay, because if you're saying established minus the year in Dallas, Andy Dalton started for Cincinnati, 9 years or something like that? 9 years straight?
Andy Dalton was trash for 3-4 years in Cincinnati.
Sure, okay.
And then he went to Dallas and was trash.
He was trash for 3-4 years straight? Or he was
in Cincinnati?
Trash
yes.
No. I'm asking, was he trash 4 years straight? Or was his time there sporadic, up and down? Like, did he have a couple good years and then a bad year followed by a good year and then a couple of bad?
Andy Dalton's past 3 years were trash in Cincinnati.
Okay, I'm asking because you could say he was trash for 4 years, but what's the context to that? Like, was he trash the rest of the time he was there, or was he like good 1 year and bad 1 year and good the next year? Like you can't just throw that out there.
You're trying to throw context to a situation that we know to be fact. You know to be fact, Andy Dalton was trash.
I'm not saying he wasn't.
I don't understand.
But I'm not saying he wasn't.
So I don't understand why you're adding context to a situation. I don't understand why
you're
saying a general context.
But you're saying he was trash in Cincinnati.
You're saying he was trash.
Huh? No, you said he was trash.
He was trash.
You're
agreeing with me though. But you're agreeing with me that he was trash. I don't understand. My point is I
don't
understand why you're trying to add
I asked the question. I asked the question. I said, was he trash the rest of his time in Cincinnati? Or
what does that even matter if we're talking about a very specific conversation? Why does that even matter if we're talking about a specific conversation?
It matters because he could have been trash early in his career.
But we know we're not talking about early in his career. We know we're talking about the past 4 years of his career.
You said he was trash.
We're not talking about Andy Dalton.
You said he was trash in Cincinnati. You said he was trash in Cincinnati.
3 years. I said he was trash for the past 3 years. Is exactly what I said.
But that includes the Dallas year. You're including the Dallas year in there.
No. So that means he was trash for 4 years. I said Cincinnati.
Okay. All right.
That was clearly what I said. There was no. I don't understand why you're bringing.
No, you said he was trash. You said he was trash for 3 years. I took that as you're counting his time in his final years in Cincinnati plus the Dallas year that he played backup quarterback.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So he's not
Okay, so why
established
are
as a good
you?
quarterback.
Okay, so
I
why
don't
is there a
understand.
disagreement? What?
No. I don't understand why you're talking about his early years in Cincinnati when I'm talking about his last years in Cincinnati.
No, I
And
was no
and
because I was asking the question: was he trash his final few years there, or was he trash sporadically throughout his time there? It's just a question.
but we know that.
It's that or that. Like what?
But again, my point is why are you making a general making why are you trying to add general context to a specific conversation? Your general context of
Because
your
we were
general
comparing
context.
because we were comparing the situation with Kurt Warner in New York to Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. We were comparing the Bears drafting this guy and not having a quarterback that was a part of that particular team for
So we were
years
talking
prior
about
to
being
that.
established. So we were talking about being established.
We were talking right. We were talking
Okay.
about a
So to
quarterback
my
that was
point,
being established in the organization before you draft a rookie quarterback. And
so to
when
my
we
point,
uh huh.
so
Go
to
ahead.
my point, it has been established long before it had been established already what Andy Dalton was at this stage of his career when the Bears picked him up. It's established who he is as a quarterback.
Yeah,
Correct?
we agree on that part. We agree on that part.
Okay,
But I think we
so
part ways. But I think we part ways where you say that situation in New York is not the same as this situation in Chicago. I think
okay,
that's I
so
think
was
that's I
Kurt
think that's where we part ways at.
okay, let me allow me to try to change your mind. Injury prone or not, was Kurt Warner a good quarterback when he went to the Giants?
When he went to the Giants, he was a good quarterback. I will say that he was a good quarterback.
When regardless of why whatever happened in St. Louis, regardless of whatever happened in St. Louis, as to why they chose to go with Mark Bolger, it was established that Kurt Warner was a good quarterback.
He was a good quarterback, and then he
You see
got
the
hurt.
difference?
He got hurt. I
See,
see
now
I
you're
see
adding
that difference.
context.
I see that difference. I see that difference.
That's all I'm
But
saying,
what I
though.
don't think you see is the similarity with this
I still
situation
don't
with
see it. You're correct. I
huh?
still don't see it.
I don't
still
see I don't
the
see how you
similarity.
don't. I mean you like I said, you brought up examples of quarterbacks that have been with their teams before they drafted quarterbacks. You brought
I
up
also
you
said,
brought up
and
you
that's
brought
what
up
you're
Joe
missing right there.
you brought up Joe Flacco.
That's what you missed.
What's
That's what
that?
you missed.
What?
What I missed. I said two things when I talked about that. I said either they've been with that team for a long time or their reputation as a quarterback has been established. Those are two different things I said, and those are two very different things. So in the Joe Flacco situation, he was established with the team.
Right.
In the Kurt Warner situation, his reputation is established as a quarterback. Those are
Okay.
two different things.
Okay.
So so Andy Dalton was not established with a team, nor was he established as a good quarterback by reputation by the time Chicago picked him up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's no that he don't
Okay.
have that Kurt Warner thing. He don't have
Okay.
that Joe Flacco thing.
No. Okay. No. He doesn't. But I'm just talking about what the team had. The Giants they bought in a guy that wasn't with the team. Prior
Right, but
to
you're
that.
talking about that because you missed my point of saying that there were two type of establishments that I was referring
Yeah,
to.
I get that now.
Okay.
I
All right.
get that now. I
Okay.
totally understand that. It was just when you're talking it from the
Matt
team.
Nagy
You're talking about from the team aspect, and we agree Matt Nagy should be fired. I'm just talking about from the team aspect. Warner wasn't with the Giants when they drafted Eli. Dalton wasn't with the Bears when they picked up Justin Fields. And that might sound ignorant to
That's
many
not-
people, but that's how I thought about it. That's how I thought about it. But I understand your point. I understand your point. So
Matt Nagy should be fired, bruh. He messed up. He messed up just that fast. And with how he's mishandling Justin Fields, along with his, Nick Foles didn't work. I said this when the Carolina they should have got Cam Newton. Didn't get Cam Newton for whatever reason. Went with Nick Foles and whoever else they tried to go. Mitch Trubisky, and they did all those things, and
Cam Newton still don't have a job.
And Chicago could have got Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. They could have got.
They chose Mitchell Trubisky. Matt Nagy should lose his job because these are now the glaring mistakes in your draft and your offseason are showing because not only did you make the mistakes, but now you're losing and you're mishandling a quarterback when you finally got a quarterback that people believe could be the dude.
Yep.
You're mishandling them.
Yep. Yeah, he should lose his job. And I know you can't fire the ownership because the ownership is the ownership. They could do what they want. You know,
you can get rid of general management. You could do something.
No, sure. And if you want to get rid of the GM, you could do that too. You could do that too. But I gotta look. I look beyond Nagy being fired, rightfully so, and I gotta look at that ownership because.
But clearly, there's nothing we could do about that.
Nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. But you could still point out the fact that. That's been an issue in Chicago.
That you can do. You can definitely point it out.
Not just this year. In past years, it's been that issue at the quarterback spot.
Yes, that you can point out.
So, so this is kind of irrelevant. I mean, because I don't think these two teams are going to be any good of anything this year. But if you're the Giants and you had these expectations, right, and so far you lose, a couple of, close games, and then you get to the Falcons, right, and, I thought the Giants would beat the Falcons this week, and turns out it was a 14-14 ball game, and the Falcons, they kick a winning field goal, and it's 17-14, and they beat the Giants, and now, everybody's calling for Joe Judge's head, to be fired at this point. I don't think they're going to do that. I think if you fire him, I think you wait till the end of the year. But I think given the expectations, I mean, Kenny Golladay, you sign that guy to a contract and he only has 100 and something yards through 3 games. That's supposed to be your number one receiver. Saquon Barkley is back. Who knows how healthy he is, but doesn't look like the old Saquon. And, I mean, you got other weapons on this offense. And the fact that you could only put up 14 points on the Falcons, that, nah, bro. The Giants, they terrible, man.
I have a question for you about the Giants. I'll tell you a story.
Yep.
So I'm having my almost daily conversations about the NFC East because everybody at my job is either
Cowboys
football team or Cowboys fans.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was asked, who's the best defense in the NFC East? To you say what?
Best defense in the NFC is the Cowboys.
East, the NFC.
I said the NFC
Cowboys.
East. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. And so the conversation was had that the Giants right now are the most consistent defense in the NFC East. Can you make an argument for that in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
I cannot.
Okay.
Agree with them? No, I can't agree.
Can you shoot any bell? Can you? No, I mean clearly you don't agree. You just gave me your answer.
I can't.
But could you see it that way in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
That they're the most consistent defense? No, hell no.
In the NFC East this year?
No, hell no. They gave up.
Okay.
They made Taylor Heineke look like a great quarterback in week 2. Nah. Yeah. I'm not giving that to the Giants. Hell no.
Okay, I just wanted to see if you could find an angle to support that because and again this is a Cowboys fan who said they feel like that the Giants are the most consistent defense in the NFC East right now, and I was like, well, they got blown out by the Broncos.
Yep.
They and they lost to the football team and they
Mm-hmm.
lost to the Falcons on by field goals. Now,
Yep.
if the argument is they didn't score a lot of points, maybe, but no, I don't see where you're coming from when
Yeah.
the Cowboy defense went toe to toe with Tampa Bay and
Mm-hmm.
held their own, got turnovers
I was just about to
on
say the turnovers is what does it for me with Dallas in regards to them being the
um
more consistent defense through 3 weeks of the four teams in the division. Cowboys are the most
and
consistent defense.
then somebody even got into points allowed,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if I remember correctly, the Cowboys were number two in the East as far as points allowed. But I think
Okay.
but I think if I'm remembering correct, I think that the Eagles were number one. It was the Eagles or the Giants that were number one.
It's
And,
the
and
Eagles. It's the Eagles.
okay,
I could tell you
okay,
that right off the bat because I've watched all three Eagles games this season, and we know the first week they kind of they try to shut the Falcons down a little bit. I think they gave
yeah,
up 6 points,
six.
and then they held their own against San Francisco, even though we don't consider San Francisco to be this high explosive offense. They just got a
Sure,
great running game, but they held
sure.
them to 17 points. And then
That's
just Monday
23.
night, they got blown out by Dallas. So, but
Right.
there's no shame in that. Dallas's offense is considered to be top five. So, yeah, I believe it's the Eagles in terms of points allowed, leading the division in that regard. But I don't think the Eagles, even though they put up, a good, fight against San
They put up
Francisco,
two.
that they're consistent. Like I don't think they're consistent defense. For me, with
Okay.
Dallas, it's the turnovers. It's what they did against the Chargers last week, 2 weeks ago. That's a good offense that they
Yeah.
held to 14. Was it 14, 17 points or
14.
something
Yeah.
like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good offense, man.
Yeah.
That can't go
Okay.
ignored.
I was curious because you brought them up. I just wanted to hear what you thought.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said to them that we both had agreed that Dallas was the better defense in the East
Yep.
right now,
Yep.
and they was like, nah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think so. And like I said, this is a Cowboys fan, so I just
Yep.
wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I got one last thing from last week. So I did. Speaking of the Eagles and the Cowboys, I watched the game and I just kind of fell asleep after that because it was a blowout at that point. But I can't front, man. I watched the beginning of the game and for the Eagles. And for some reason, I'm kind of intrigued by the Eagles because of Jalen Hurts this season. But those first few play calls, man, like the first three drives of the game for Philly, I'm like, yo, where's the run game? Like, where's the run calls and stuff? Like they had this dude throwing 50 times in a game, and they only ran the ball 14, 15 times, and I'm like, what the hell kind of game plan
When
is
did the
this?
game get out of hand though? Because I don't pretend to have watched the game.
That
But when did the
game
game get out of hand?
that game got out of hand by like halftime.
Okay.
And even before halftime, I mean, you should still be having like a good like dosage of run pass balance, right? There was
Yeah.
no balance whatsoever. Like they was trying to make Jalen Hurts. I don't. It was as if they were trying to make him outduel Dak Prescott. Like that's what it made it. That's what the
Interesting.
game felt like. And I don't know
Hmm.
if that's what their thoughts were, but when you look at that play, when you look at the play calls, the run calls, the pass calls, like there was just something about that game plan where it was just like, nah, like this ain't it. Like Jalen Hurts can't throw that many times and think you gonna beat the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. And I agree with you as far as balance. I won't pretend to have watched the game enough to have a real opinion. Because I mean, obviously, Tennessee's and what the Cowboys was giving them on defense and those types of
Yeah,
things
yeah.
should make a have some type of effect on how you play call. But I mean, just on the surface, yeah, obviously you would want to have more balance. But maybe they was giving fronts where it was like, all right, we not getting nowhere, or maybe they tried those runs early and was like, I just don't know because I didn't watch the game. Is what I'm saying.
Got you. No, I got you. I
Um,
got you.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, I won't, but I mean, getting to the Eagles, man,
I think
it's
that
like I
game is
said.
closer. I think that game is closer if their, run pass ratio is more balanced. I think that game is a lot closer than what it was.
Maybe, like I said, like maybe it's hard for me to say because I didn't watch the game. I watched the
Otherwise, I would have
highlights,
fell
but I didn't
asleep.
watch. Yeah, and then even when I felt like maybe I should watch the game, it was a blowout. So it was like, all
Yeah,
right, bro, I ain't about to
yeah,
watch a blowout.
yeah.
I know it's early. So I won't overreact about me feeling right about my predictions. But Seattle's not looking great in the beginning of the season.
Yeah. I. So what are they? 2-1, right? They 2-1.
I thought they were 1-2.
No, they
Maybe I'm
should
wrong.
they
Let
should
me
be
double
two and
check.
one. They should be 2-1.
They
They beat the
okay.
Colts week 1, and they
Okay. So okay.
I can't remember who they played
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
2, but
I'm
but
trying to find out.
but they lost to the Vikings
They
on
lost to
Sunday, right?
Minnesota this past week. No,
Yeah.
you're wrong. They're 1-2. Unless I'm looking at this and this is wrong, but they lost to according to this they lost to the hold on. They lost to the yeah, they're 1-2. They lost to the Titans and the Vikings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
The
in
overtime.
overtime.
The
In
overtime
overtime
game.
when
That's
when
right.
when
That's
Derrick
right.
Henry when Derrick Henry went ape shit.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't look great. I mean,
Not off to a good start. Yeah. Not
that
off.
I mean I won't overreact. I'm just saying they don't look great.
Yeah. I mean, lost to Minnesota, lost to
The loss to
Tennessee.
Minnesota is bad. Tennessee. I won't kill them about Tennessee because, like I said, Derrick Henry went crazy that game.
Yeah.
So I won't. Yeah, I won't give
I'll
them too much flack about that.
I'll slightly differ with you in a sense that Seattle had a 17-point lead in that game, and Tennessee
Okay.
came all the way
Okay.
back. I'll
Okay.
slightly disagree
Okay.
there.
Well, then you're right. Then you're right. Okay.
If
Okay.
Tennessee just kind of came out like game busters and dominated the game, then I'd be like, okay, that's a good loss to have.
Okay.
But they were
Okay.
up by
All right. I'm
17.
with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you
The
on that.
Minnesota one, I agree with you. That's a bad loss.
That's a bad loss.
That's
That's a bad loss.
that's a
It's a
bad
bad
loss,
loss.
bro. And I don't know if
I
you
mean,
heard.
I see people in that chat. They up and they loving. What's that kid? That running back Madison.
Madison, yeah,
That yeah, they loving Madison in the
they love Madison.
group chat.
Yeah,
They loving them in the group chat right now.
I know, I know, and I don't know if you heard that Dalvin Cook said that, and what else is he supposed to say, right? But he said Kirk Cousins is playing some of the best football right now. Obviously, we disagree with that.
Well, I won't agree or disagree because I haven't been paying them no mind. So
Yeah, I don't think he's playing all that great. Like no, when nobody's talking about you like that, like I just don't believe you, bro. I don't believe that.
well, I won't say that to be true because sometimes they're not talking about him because they already had their opinion of him, and he could be balling, but
Hmm.
I don't believe him because he's him. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins. We
yeah.
don't know Kirk Cousins to be consistent, so he has a few good games, and it's like, man, that's just Kirk Cousins. He'll come back to earth sometime soon, but that don't
Right.
change the fact that these past two games, however he's done, if he's playing good, then he's been playing good. I mean,
Yeah.
it took us a little while to. I mean, Justin Herbert last year, and I get he was a rookie, but we was kind of like he was having these 300-yard games, and it was taking a little while before we was like, oh, this dude Jai going
Yeah,
crazy
and
right
you know
now.
what? You make a good point there, particularly with the Chargers, because I think the narrative, just as them as a football team for all these
Yeah, they
years,
trash.
is that not just that they're trash, but they lose these close games, right? They lead these games. They dominate the opponent the first half, and then some way somehow something happens crazy, and they end up losing a football game. So that was the Chargers for most of the season last year.
Yeah.
And you're right, Justin Herbert and the games he was having, it went
He was just
unnoticed.
cooking.
It went unnoticed, but it was because the Chargers weren't, they weren't a good football team last year. They weren't winning games that they were supposed to win. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Last thing I got, bruh, is you gotta give Jay-Z a little bit of you gotta give Jay-Z a little props because he was hired to do these halftime shows, and I know a lot of people felt how they felt about last year's halftime show, but when I tell you that if he's responsible for this,
Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, and I'm missing the fifth.
I don't remember neither, but those.
But yes.
Come on, bruh.
Yes.
Come on, bruh. I wish a nigga would sit here and act like.
Oh, quiet. They quiet. The Jay-Z haters, they quiet now.
I'm just saying.
If
he was given the task, if he was given the task of putting together Super Bowl halftime shows, I mean, look, you say what you want about who was last year? Was it J-Lo or some shit?
Yeah, I think it was either
J-Lo
or Shakira or something like that. It's something crazy.
Now
like
look,
that.
now listen here. I'm not a big fan of J-Lo and Shakira, but that little moment was a moment. We're not gonna sit here and act like that moment wasn't a moment. First of all, secondly, we understand. If I'm not mistaken, this Super Bowl was in Miami last year.
The Super Bowl.
So we know.
No.
It wasn't? Okay, where was it?
It was the year before. And I remember that because I remember us having this conversation about it needed to be Trick, Trina, and Ross at that Miami Super Bowl. So
where was it this past year?
So last year's Super Bowl, who played in the Super Bowl last year? It was Tampa. Tampa.
So it was in Tampa.
It was in Tampa.
Okay. Yeah. Close enough. Yeah. Come on, bruh.
Tampa, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. So
even if you got Flow Rider, it would have been all good.
Come on. Yeah. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's your first gig, your first assignment on a job. That was a safe play, and it worked. Now, I don't know where it is this year.
Oh, I could tell you. I could tell you. And the moment I saw that Dr. Dre was gonna be on this halftime show, I was like, they thinking right. LA, new stadium. Yeah, you better get LA artists on this halftime show. Kendrick Lamar.
Now go ahead.
Yeah.
Now go ahead and act like this ain't what the fuck I'm talking about. Any listener, go ahead and act like this ain't what the fuck I'm talking about right here. And y'all gonna sit here and act like Jay-Z ain't Jay-Z.
The Jay-Z haters
That's all I'm saying.
The Jay-Z haters are quiet right now.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Give him sit here and act like his flowers. Give that man his damn flowers right now.
Jay-Z, if this is still Jay-Z's job, Jay-Z is 2 for 2, and I don't care what nobody say. He 2 for 2 right now. He 2 for 2. And that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look and see who the halftime show was at that Miami Super Bowl. Cause no, last year. Cause the Miami Super Bowl was either J-Lo or Shakira,
and Shakira.
Okay. I don't. Oh, The Weeknd. Okay. That's right. The Weeknd. The Weeknd was last year.
Oh, okay. He 1 for 2. I didn't like that. He 1 for 2.
Yeah. I
didn't like that.
I was trying to make you change that a little bit. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Right. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I was thinking last year. Yeah, I was thinking last year with Shakira and J-Lo. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Oh yeah, he 1 for 2 then. Yeah, he 1 for 2. I didn't like that.
Yeah,
I didn't like that. Some people did like it, but I didn't like that.
Really?
Cause some people did like it. I definitely,
I ain't gonna front. I ain't gonna front. Everybody had something bad to say about it, bro. At least the people I saw talking about it. You might have saw something different, but man.
No. I didn't like it, but I definitely saw people who enjoyed it.
Okay.
I didn't like it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't like it either. So.
And then I get that his musical preference, but I mean none of his songs really fit Super Bowl except for I Can't Feel My Face. None of his songs really fit
Yeah,
Super
the Weeknd's
Bowl. Like,
catalog doesn't
yeah,
really fit. You don't think Super Bowl halftime show when you're talking about the
yeah.
Weeknd's catalog. I mean, and we've said that about several
It's all
artists.
like sad
Like I
shit.
said that, like I said that about Adele when she did it a few years ago. Like, you don't think Super Bowl halftime show when you think of Adele. It's like you think of like sad stuff, like drowsy, like I want to kill myself type music. Like, no.
I don't. That's not. No, that's not what I think about when I think of Adele. But I get your point. It's not. I don't. I agree that that's not Super Bowl music. But best believe that when Family Affair come on and Mary J. Blige come out with the boots. Best believe when next episode come
Who was
on.
produced by Dr. Dre, by the way.
Yeah, right. Best believe when Kendrick come out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh, man.
And Dr. Dre, you think Dr. Dre really gonna come outside? Come on, bro. We ain't seen Dr. Dre outside. Last time we seen Dr. Dre outside dating chicks and doing shit like that, man. We ain't seen Dr. Dre outside performing in a minute. Come on, bro. That's going crazy.
I'm happy Dr. Dre's health is, all good now. Because he had the scare, I think, last year sometime. So I'm happy that he's doing much better in that regard. But yeah, I'm happy to see Dr. Dre at a halftime show with Snoop Dogg and Kendrick and Mary J. Blige. Man, that's right
you
there.
I'm trying to remember who we forgetting.
Yeah, it's a fifth artist, man, and it's funny because I was just looking at the phone, and I was like, oh snap! Here's the flyer for the halftime show, and I just I forgot to put that in my notes, but yeah. Like that's gotta be
Eminem. Oh my God, Eminem. That's what we forgot.
That's it. Yep. Yeah.
That's going to be. I'm not the biggest Eminem fan, but that's going to be crazy.
Ooh,
that's going to be crazy.
It's going to be an aftermath Super Bowl halftime show. Can't wait. Can't wait for it, man.
Man, you better respect that hip hop is the new shit. You better respect it.
Hey,
It's been for a while, but
I'm gonna say it one last time. Give Jay his props to all y'all haters that been talking about how he a side coon and he don't care about. To all y'all niggas that been saying that, like, where y'all at now? Like, what's good? What's good?
I don't want to get into that deep. I don't want to get into that deep dive. I ain't gonna hold you. I gotta pee.
All right, whatever.
I don't want to get into that deep dive right now.
Shout out to Big Kev 303 in the Facebook live.
What's happening?
Yeah, I'm gonna see your Broncos on Sunday, B. Shout out to all of our listeners and viewers, man. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate the support. Just make sure y'all continue to follow us on our Facebook page. Just click the like button, and you'll get our Facebook Live notifications. Also, check us out on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Also, you can check us out on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you got questions or comments about the show, you can email us at barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. So we appreciate y'all. Looking forward to week 4 in the NFL. Maestro, you got nothing else, man? Go ahead and do your thing. I'm about to be up out of here. Check out this game if it's any good.
Probably won't be.
Probably won't be, right? All right, fam. Y'all take it easy. We'll holler at y'all next week. Peace. One love.
Love.